Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Ask a Question, Get an Answer. Jerry, Old Guys Review. So, Grenada RC Hobby Adventures asked me an excellent question. I want everyone who listens and watches to tell me, what are your top 5 rigs and why? Wow, here's a head scratcher. So I took a few days on this one. And what surprised me the most were my top 5 favorite rigs currently are my oldest rigs. And I'll get into that in a minute. But wow. Everyone sit down and listen and think hard. What are your top 5 rigs? And I'll tell you how I came to mine. My number 1 is my second oldest rig, which is the original Clodbuster. And it is my favorite because this vehicle, long before rock crawling was a thing, these were the top trucks to convert to get awesome crawling potential. And ESP, this company, made these Clodzilla chassis, 1 through 4, I believe. This is a 4. Cantilever suspension, excellent, just like a monster truck. But in our early days of ultimate off-road crawling, climbing up mountains performance, this was one of the ways to go. But when you got the kit, all you got was the kit. You came with a whole new chassis. You got links, chassis, the links, and that was all. So everything else you had to modify. And this, mainly because of the nostalgia and the fact that this truck, until early this summer, still functioned perfectly until I bonsai'd through some water and the Tamiya Clodbuster speed control I had in it sucked up some water and instantly fried. This has got some big fancy old Proline wheels and tires on it to make it just vicious. It's got a JB Weld locked front and rear differential. It's got custom aluminum upper mounts for the upper links, or the upper links that I milled out of a piece of aluminum. I had nothing else other than to guess how big it should be. It's got where the servos attach. Those are metal plates that I made, and the only thing to use on them to hold them on was 2-sided tape and zip ties. I mean, I could probably come up with something fancy now, but this truck, right, almost 20 years old, just one of my favorites, and I don't see that I'd ever get rid of it. And number 2 on that list, we're still at Tamiya, the CC01. I got this, I don't even know how long, 18 years ago, potentially. Still goes. I made custom fender liners for it. This used to have, I can't remember the company, they used to make bodies, but it used to have a full engine in it. With my custom stuff still running an AM radio, a Team Associates radio, JB Weld locked front differential. It's just slowly evolved over the years to get Proline when the roof racks first came out. That is an original. It's running a Clodbuster light bar on it. Proline Delio, I cut out this front push bar to get better clearance. And when I mounted this, I made a little plate for it and cut a section out and put a metal bar in there. So that winch is sturdy. Fake, but sturdy. And it's got the wheels and tires off of my original RC four-wheel drive Trailfinder 2, the original tires that come with the set. This truck with a locked diff and a locked front would surprise you on how it gets around. And of course, even though it's a Wrangler, it's at least painted up in the same exact color as my real Jeep CJ7. So now, number 3, the Axial SCX10 original. This truck and the TF2 got me back into scale crawling. When I first started, RC trucks were pretty much versions of real trucks. And you could just do crazy things with a truck that you wouldn't do in real life. But this one came out first. It was the original kit with the old pickup body. And as new ones have come out, I've just done little bits of things to it. When it first came out, I relocated the battery from the rear to the front. I made a electronics bracket that goes over here, so everything's mounted on this bracket that mounts to the chassis. So all I've done over the years is it got new shocks, it's got new wheels and tires, just to upgrade it. And of course, the honcho body was my favorite body. I put a lower bracket in here, so I mounted a battery. It's got some wires running into the truck, you know, to look like a real one. But the honcho body I just love. Oh, and instead of getting the honcho bumper, I used my own bumper on it, and then just put a radiator in there from a Axial XO, I think that's what it was called, to fill the gap. So it just looks like he took the front bumper off and more air went through it. But I still use it. It's my test bed against all the new trucks that come out. And those are my top 3s right there. And they're all old. And I think it's got to be the fact that these were all built as kits from the ground up and then modified by me, is why I think that these are so special in my heart. So we're going to move over to the other bench for the other 2. So stand by. And here we are. Number 3 on my list is my original SCX10 6-wheeler. Before we were making 6-wheelers, some of us were making 6-wheelers. And this was made with a few extra parts I had to order from Axial. But drive shafts have been cut to fit. Added arms, took arms out of the cheap kits. Or the ready to runs, I think, had the cheap ones on them. The kits had the metal ones on. So as my other SCX10 has metal, this one's got all the plastic. But, you know, get an extra set of rails, cut them out, bolted them together, made a little piece of metal in there. They bolt through for extra reinforcement. Those Maxxis tires on it. This thing is fun. But what's funny is I used to make some outdoor videos back in the day with my GoPros. You put a GoPro mount on this just as it sits. And wow, could you get some great sneaking up on critters and whatnot. They wondered what it was, so it served two purposes, but once again, something I saw some pictures and some rough dimensions, built it myself. One of my tops. And it goes out and drives most every summer. Now the only one, which was number 5, that I have done nothing to other than own it, is the Traxxas Slash 4x4. This is a little combination of the Platinum and whatnots, but this truck has been a rock star. If you look at the body, this is the new body I bought. Oh man, I couldn't believe it once the original one was too beat up. How beat up this truck is. I have owned that truck since it first came out. I had the original Slashes, the two-wheelers for my sons, and we'd had 3 of them and go out and have a field day. And when this came out, I had to have it. This truck right here sitting in front of you, I put new wheels and tires on it to match the new body when I put it on. Wow, the top doesn't even have any shine left on it, hardly. These kind of tires with these small teeths are excellent up here in Alaska in the wintertime. Took a lot of trial before I figured that out. These were great in snow. Nothing is broke on this truck since I've owned it for years. I don't know exactly when the Slash 4x4 came out, but this has had, I think, 3 different bodies since then. Nothing structural on this truck is broke. Everything is original. All tore up, all scratched up. Not a single broken component. So, as my wife sometimes makes fun of me, when equipment does its job, that's when I get feelings for it. You know, I've got a 10-year-old 4-wheeler. She's got a brand new one. Why don't you get a brand new one? Well, he does everything I ever need it to do, so why would I get rid of it? So, top 5 of my favorite rigs. Grenada RC Hobby Adventures. There you go. But being that this is my video, I will go right up and say number 6 is the Globe Liner. I had wanted one of those trucks since I was a teenager. And once I got my own, I've loved it even more. And as we just saw from one of my last videos, he got all new work over, so now I love him even more. So there you go, Grenada RC Hobby Adventures. Hope that answered your question, and everyone else, why don't you think about that? It's a lot harder than it seems. So, everyone else, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving shout outs to Ron. And I'll talk to you next time.